Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trylko from the Sons of UCF, joined by Eric Lopez of the Black and Gold Banneret. Welcome to Around the Kingdom. Elo, hello.
Hello, Trace. Coming up on the fastest UCF show around still. UCF football, another heartbreaker against Iowa State. But is there positives from it moving forward? Plus, basketball season around the corner. But has the night season already been derailed by a significant injury? That and a UCF alum perhaps in store for a big NBA season. We'll tell you who that is coming up on this edition of Around the Kingdom.
Well, before we get going with all of that, let us welcome in the third member of our team. He is Adam Eaton from the Sons of UCF. Keeps an eye on the clock, keeps us on our toes. Adam, hello.
Gentlemen, good evening. I'm proud to say, amongst all the adversity that's happened, the Around the Kingdom cast, let it be known, we're toughing together around here. TNT, baby.
That is true. Thank you, Adam. All right, you mentioned it off the top, Elo. Fourth straight loss for the Knights. Deja vu all over again. Knights experiencing a 5-game losing streak last year. Goes down to the wire. Iowa State escapes with a win, 38-35 in Ames. How did it feel to you watching from home?
Trace, Trylko, a longtime UCF man as you are, I can tell you, having followed this program since 1998, it kind of felt like an old school UCF game, didn't it, Trace? Right there against a ranked team, you get some bounces, you're thinking, hey, this could be your night, and yet, just find it so close, find a way to lose games. It reminded me of a lot of games in those late 90s, 2000s. Think of the Phantom PI game against Georgia. Think of the Auburn games up there all the time. It feels like it's another one on the list of the historic, this program of coming up close in games. I remember the Culpeper trip against, Mississippi up there at Oxford. It felt that way. It felt like an old school UCF game, which what I'm talking about, Trey. Some of the young people don't. They're like, oh my God, this felt like unfortunately a UCF script we've seen before.
Yeah, but those are back in the days, Elo, when UCF was the little engine that had the chip on the shoulder. Now we're part of the big boys club, and 11 years removed. It would have been so poetic, right, to have won that game 11 years earlier, beating Louisville by a 38-35 score, a top 10 ranked team. But the Knights come so close, but fail. All they needed was a first down or two, Elo. They only had the ball a few moments in the second half. If they could have done anything offensively, they might have gotten out there with a win.
Trace, if we knew each other like 20, 25 years ago, we probably would have the same conversation about a lot of different UCF kids. Sometimes that's who we are. That's the DNA of UCF football. Hey, you youngsters that jumped in since 2017, welcome. I do agree with you. Maybe a couple of completions extra would have helped defensively. It's weird. I know it wasn't 2 official defensive touchdowns, but it was basically 2 defensive touchdowns, and you still lose a game. That's brutal. That is absolutely brutal, to say the least. But did that performance give you perhaps a glimmer of hope, Trace? After all, there were some positive signs from the defensive line. Defense was making some plays. Optimism moving forward from that performance?
Optimism, and as we're going to talk about, the schedule may yet be favorable for the Knights. You saw some positive things, the 2 picks, right, and really 2 defensive touchdowns. Hard to fault the defense on that last drive. They were on the field a lot, but more importantly, maybe they've got a quarterback who can do some things. They certainly could do it on the ground. He was more mobile than we saw from KJ Jefferson. Still some questions about his passing efficiency, but there's still a little bit of hope out there for this season.
The thing that gives me a little optimism is the defense making some plays. I thought Brandon Adams had his best game at corner overall. I thought Dotson and Lee Hunter and some of those guys up front and the defensive line had a really solid game, had a solid push. I'm really curious, Trace, is it an aberration or perhaps a trend from the defensive side of the ball? That's what I'm very curious about moving forward.
Well, I just mentioned it, quarterback Jakari Brown getting the start in this one a week after it was young E.J. Colson getting the start. A week after it was KJ Jefferson getting the start. But maybe there's something with Brown here.
Well, I'll say this. I think Brown's clearly the best runner and brought the running ability that KJ Jefferson in 2024 did not bring. I think that's the big difference. And certainly that design where he ran up the middle for that touchdown early in the third quarter is an example of that. I'm not totally there yet, though. He still struggled passing, 8 for 20 82 yards passing.
62. Don't
62.
overcredit him here.
No, 62. My bad. I'm trying to bump him up. You got to get more production out of your quarterback from the passing game that way. This team ran over 300 yards, Trace. And, imagine if you just throw a $150, maybe that's the difference. I agree with Gus's decision to make him the starter the rest of the way, get him some reps, see if he improves. But I'm not convinced he's the long-term answer, but I do agree with him playing the rest of the way.
He's certainly getting an audition to be in consideration for 2025.
Listen, one of the easy jobs he's got to do is hand it off to RJ Harvey, who had another monster game against Iowa State. Fantastic player, keeps moving up the record books at UCF. Trace, I know he's still got a few games to go, but let's be real. RJ Harvey has been the bright spot for this program the last 2 years. Where do you rank him all time in UCF running back lores?
Well, I think he's starting to be in that consideration for the Mount Rushmore, right? And Kevin Smith is certainly on there. What I think is interesting is he's excelling in what we thought might have been a deep running back room, right? But Penny Boone, where are you? Johnny Richardson, 2 fumbles. He's been sidelined. Didn't see much of Miles Montgomery, who's dealt with some injury issues. He's been the workhorse here. I think there have been times in the season where you wish he could also play quarterback.
Look, Kevin Smith's the standard. He's number 1. I think after that, it's an interesting conversation. You could make the argument Latavius Murphy, if George O'Leary would have, used him better, would be number 2. He's had the best pro career. I think RJ Harvey is the best running back since Kevin Smith. I think you can make an argument he's right there with Latavius Murray as 2 or 3 all time at running backs. And then you've got the Marquette Smiths of the world from the back in the day. I think he's top 3, top 4. I agree. I think he could be the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, he's certainly, and he has opportunity now over the rest of the season to continue to build on his stats. We've been talking about the quarterback situation, and rightfully so. It has been a drag this season, but you said it at the outset of the season. Who's wide receiver 2? And now Xavier Townsend, not part of the team. You look at the collective stats for the wide receiver room, and beyond Kobe Hudson and maybe Randy Pittman Jr. at tight end, nobody's doing anything.
Well, and that's a couple of things, right? I think it's a whiff, right, by the staff from either a recruiting standpoint, from a development standpoint, whatever you want to say on that. But again, when you have quarterbacks that are limited as far as throwing the football, it impacts probably your number 2, number 3 options as well.
Yeah, but those guys got to get separation too and help out their quarterback.
But we don't know. Are they not getting separation, or is the quarterback not able to find him? Maybe it's a combination of both. I don't think you're wrong on that. But look at the Miami Dolphins, my beloved Dolphins. Look at Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, 2 of the best receivers in the NFL. When Tua is not playing, they are useless. They don't get the ball. So I think that's a part of it here. But you're right. I think they've missed on some guys. And let's not forget, Trace, this program has lost guys either through leaving early to go pro, like obviously Baker, or through the transfer portal. And that may have taken its toll in that position as well.
Fair.
So I'm sorry to break the news for you. However, as we go to the second half of the season, we thought at one point, Trace, this was a brutal part of the schedule. But is it? Now, you got BYU, top 13 team in the country. You're hosting this weekend. But after that, Utah down this year with some injuries. West Virginia down. Could UCF make a run here in the second half of the year?
6 wins or bust, Elo. There are winnable games on this schedule at West Virginia. Neil Brown hanging on to his job, right? Utah, nowhere near what everyone thought. I had to laugh. What was it, a week or so ago? Utah picked first in the league. Arizona State picked last. Who gets the win in Tempe? It's Arizona State, right? In a wide open Big 12. There are opportunities on the schedule. BYU, hard game there. But Arizona at home, Utah at home, West Virginia on the road, even Arizona State. It's possible, Elo. There could be 3 wins on that schedule.
I've thought about it. I'm going to say no. I think you're wrong. I thought about it for 20, 30 seconds. It was a dramatic pause because I was thinking about it. Could Trace be right? No.
You seem otherwise occupied.
Can they win on the road? Can they win on the road, Trace? Can they win at Arizona State? Can they win?
They've won on the road, Elo, and a massive comeback
Where?
at TCU. They've proven that they can win on the road.
Another one? Can you give me another one? Are you going to give me another one? Another win. What about Utah? Now, I think Utah, they can win. We'll see. I think it's close. You got to steal another road game, in my opinion, and hold serve at home.
Well,
anyway.
hold serve at home. Knights 2-2. Drop a game to BYU. You've lost the home field advantage. Remember the bounce house. Knights nearly invincible there for a run from 17 on. Getting a little wobbly with a Gus bus. Not a sure thing at home.
Well, I agree. I mean, BYU is going to bring a lot of fans. But remember, Trace, it is homecoming. So UCF fans usually come out for homecoming. I think it'll be a good crowd. Hopefully the weather is supposed to be some chance of rain. We'll see if that happens. I think it's pivotal for UCF to get off to a good start against BYU. BYU was defensively can be suspect to the run. Oklahoma State had a lot of success. Keep the crowd in it. If BYU jumps on you, then it's going to sound like a BYU home game.
Yeah, remember when BYU played at UCF some years back, a very big BYU turnout, strong contingent of their fan base travels and as well lives in the state of Florida. And a lot of Knights fans, I know, I'm going to get bashed for carping on the fans, but you're ceding your home field advantage when you sell off your tickets. And when you remember what it was like to have West Virginia fans rolling through the stadium with country roads, get ready for more of the same. If you give up your tickets, sell your tickets, you cede your home field advantage.
Wow, that's rough. Well, speaking of home field, UCF, of course, with an opportunity to upset BYU like they did a year ago against Oklahoma State. Remember, Trace, what we did against Oklahoma State? We stormed the field.
We did not storm the field.
We kind of did in a responsible, but way where the school didn't get fined. My question to you is, if UCF were to upset BYU this weekend, are you storming the field? Cause for storming the field? Jogging?
Well, some BYU fans and players think this is the best 3 and 4 team in the country in UCF. No, I think this is ridiculous. I think it shows you where the program is right now, that anybody is considering this. And I don't know that it'll actually happen. But no, you do not storm the field, saunter out from the corner end zone, leisurely out onto the field for beating BYU. Absolutely not. Though.
Were you in favor of this last year with Oklahoma State?
I think if you're going to storm, no, I don't know. No. I don't think it's monumental enough a win.
What is monumental to you then?
This season or in general?
In general, give me what would be rules for, hey, let's storm the field and a UCF home game.
A consequential win, and beating BYU to snap a 4-game losing streak to me does not qualify.
So what qualifies? You're not going to answer the
really
question.
Good team.
BYU's good.
Be a good team. Beat a good team. How about that?
So they got to be good to beat the good team. Then that count? Oh my goodness! Are you kidding me?
You're pro running out there after beating BYU.
I mean, not this game, but you're making it sound like it's got to be specific good game. Like I had a good time with Oklahoma State last week.
We've devolved into silliness. It's a perfect segue to bring back in Adam and our silly game.
I take no offense to that. I'm also confused if I have to be a good team, beat a good team. I'll worry about that later, though.
I just don't think BYU's it.
What you can worry about, though, is how you get yourself to the Cure Bowl, friends. December 20th, Camping World Stadium. You want to check that game out. Get tickets at curebowl.com. Always a great matchup. Always a great time at the stadium. Some festivities around the game, before the game, and always a great opportunity to get out there and support some local college football in Orlando. And the best news is the battle is always Orlando versus cancer. You can join the home team. Go to curebowl.com for your tickets to join them December 20th at Camping World Stadium. All right, gentlemen, something completely new this week. Okay. We're getting a lot of backlash, a lot of heat. People want positivity. People want to hear something positive. So here's today's game, Elo. I'm going to give you a name and you have to say something positive about this person. Okay. So first up, Elo, say something positive about Ted Roof.
I think Ted Roof has brought some playmaking abilities to a UCF defense with his style there, evident by some of the plays we saw against Iowa State.
Do I have to play this too?
Say something positive.
I think
about
the second page of his resume now includes UCF for a second time, so he was wise to return.
Okay.
I like his glass frames. frames. And he's nice enough to talk before he goes up to the podium.
All right, judges. Well, I'm not sure if we call that nice, but we'll go back to the drawing board on that one. All right, Trace, this one's for you. Say something positive about KJ Jefferson.
KJ Jefferson has good taste in clothes, good taste in cars, and from what I can tell in listening to players, he continues to be a positive teammate and some humble pie there to lose your starting spot. So I give him credit for hanging in there, where obviously some players have not hung in as the season has rolled along. So I'll give him some credit there.
I liked his leadership, in particular a couple of weeks ago when Johnny Richardson fumbled the ball twice. Who was the guy that came over to kind of give him some consolement there as a teammate? Was KJ Jefferson after being benched. A lot of guys would not have done that. They would have gotten benched. So that's my thought positive on KJ Jefferson.
All right, Eric Lopez, say something positive about Gus Malzahn.
Gus can recruit. And Gus makes it interesting. It seems like dramatic, maybe too dramatic at times, either in the pressers or in game action.
Trace.
Where's the boom that ends the segment? Where's the countdown clock?
Coming
no,
soon.
I do think there are a lot of program building things that he has brought to the program. I think they're mired in some things, and maybe we lose sight of that takes some transition to move into the Big 12 and build up the program. I know we're seeing success for BYU Cincinnati this year. I also think he says nothing better than Josh Heupel.
There we go. Last one, Trace. This one starts with you. What's the best thing that's happened so far this season?
Oh, goodness. What's the best thing that's happened?
Positive,
the comeback.
Trace?
The
Okay.
comeback at TCU was uplifting to see them trailing a road win, first win in the Big 12 this season. You thought it portended great things for the season. So I thought that was a positive moment.
Does adding Bailey and Christian Simmons' podcast to the Suns Network count as a positive of the first half? Is that eligible, or do
Judges?
I got to pick a football one? If I got to be stuck to picking a football one, the TCU finish clearly is the one that so far stands out as the highlight.
All right, Trace, consider this your boom.
Thank you, Adam. All right, Elo, a little more serious now. Sunday night exhibition game for UCF men's basketball. Jaylen Sellers goes down. Several moments on the court, scary moments. What we still wish for him the best. We don't know what lies ahead for him from a health standpoint. We're a week removed from Media Day for men's basketball, where hope springs eternal. What do you see as the impact of not having Jaylen Sellers for a shorter period of time, maybe longer than that?
I think it's significant. I think he was poised for a big year. We had found out at Media Day that he played last year basically not at 100% because he injured his wrist, I guess, before the season last year. And now apparently, we're speculating, but, he's had some issues with the back. We think that's what it might have been. Andrew Trylko did a great job of covering that. And he asked Johnny about whether they should have resumed playing. And Johnny admitted they thought about not resuming or not. Look, I know they're deep at guards, but it's unproven players. Jaylen's a proven guy here. If you lose him for a period of time, that hurts. I don't care how much depth you think you have in the guards position. Not a good start to the UCF basketball season. And I hate it that it happened in an exhibition that we lose players. It seems like every year, Trace, we lose a player or gets banged up before the season.
11 new players, 9 transfers, only 2 returning starters, Jaylen and Darius Johnson. So building that chemistry was already going to be a challenge without Jaylen, who is, been supportive of his teammates. That's difficult. That's a hard loss. Hopefully, though, he's going to be fine for him personally in the short term and can be a factor. And we'll see what the future holds for him. We're still not sure.
Of course, the scrimmage exhibition I mentioned, the UCF beat Florida Gulf Coast on Sunday. That was open to fans and media. Like Trace Trylko was there. He flew back all the way back from Ames, Iowa, just to catch this basketball game. So, Trace, what was your takeaway from what you watched?
You know what? There are some exciting players, and I'm interested to see how they come together as a team. We know the high-profile names, and I think it could be an exciting team. And as we have said, they could be better and maybe not show it in the wins and the losses just because of the strength of the Big 12. But I think they could be an interesting team. And on paper, you might argue maybe the best team Johnny Dawkins has had.
Could be the most talented. I think it could be the best shooting team he's got. I think he's got multiple guys who can hit the three. Again, of course, that's depending on Sellers' availability. My question to you, because I wasn't there. Rim protection. Does UCF have rim protection? Because that's a part of a Johnny Dawkins successful defense is having rim protection. Is Mustafa the guy that can do that? What does the rim protection look like from your eyes in that exhibition?
Well, I don't think you learn a whole lot. I mean, they did not play particularly well in the first half. They certainly rallied in the second half after Jaylen went down. I think that's going to be a work in progress over the course of the season. You know, it's an emphasis for Johnny Dawkins' defense. And so I think they'll get there. But will they be there in a tough home opener against Texas A&M coming up? I'm not sure they're going to be where they need to be in that one. But kudos to them for scheduling that tough game.
A good cause, right, as well. That's why they made that probably with the Hurricanes.
All right. You know, there's a lot in this fan base, a lot of people in this fan base that are on Johnny Dawkins. A little turn in that based on the success, relative success of the first year in the Big 12. Do Gus's struggles make things a little bit easier for Johnny Dawkins in the eyes of the fan base? Do fans appreciate him a little bit more now?
I think they should. I mean, you know, I think Johnny has the harder job of the two sports. And I think we would agree, he had a better first year in the Big 12 than Gus did.
More wins
in conference. Year two, I don't know. You know, I don't think it makes it easier. I'm not saying Johnny won't be critical. I think there's still some pressure with this roster, especially with some of the hype that's going on. But I hope that two people appreciate what Johnny has done with the basketball team. And that was always my point when I read about the column and everything. And I think last year was a good start with that. We'll see what he does this year. But yeah, I do think it, in a weird way, it does benefit Johnny that Gus struggles because all the focus and negativity is going to be on Gus right now.
Yeah, and remember, they got wins like the victory over Kansas, the road victory against Texas. Have there been those sorts of signature wins under Gus Malzahn? And I think fans appreciate the type of conference the Big 12 is, what it means to beat a Kansas and to beat a Texas. They know that means a lot, and they're looking for that from the football program as well. So I think Johnny's in a good position. Of course, you got to win games, but I like where he is going into the season.
Of course, basketball will open against Texas A&M, top 15 team in the country, maybe the biggest home opener in UCF basketball history. Perhaps more eyeballs on UCF basketball to start the year than ever before with football struggles, Trace. Does that put less pressure on men's hoops with football struggles and people just focus on the football problems? Or does it add pressure to basketball trying to have success to help out offset the football disappointment?
I don't know if it's pressure, but I think with the start with volleyball, men's and women's soccer in particular, and football, I think there's a craving for this fan base to have success in a sport in the Big 12. So I don't know if it puts pressure. I think that people are energized, though, by the quality of basketball that they see. And I think they like the names that Johnny's added to the roster. So I'm not sure if it's pressure, but I think the fan base is craving some sustained success in a sport and a fun atmosphere. And I think that's lacking right now on the football side.
My concern, Trace, because I think there's going to be a lot of eyeballs in that Texas A&M game. If that game doesn't go well and UCF loses, let's say by 8 to 10 points, because Texas A&M returns 80% of their roster.
Which is not inconceivable.
Right, because A&M returns their roster, 80% of their roster. It's the complete opposite of UCF. So they should be the favorites there. If they lose, my concern is, does that get some people to turn negative or turn off on the hoops? I hope not. It's just opening night. That's my concern because that's a tough draw.
Yeah, I don't think that will be the case. I think they'll continue to be with the program. All right, let's shift back to football, Elo. We talked a little bit about UCF schedule, Utah and Arizona, schools that were thought to be strong. What do you make of this Big 12 as we hit the second half of the season? BYU and Iowa State, is that your title game? I imagine Brett Yormark doesn't mind BYU, but probably would like to have Colorado in there with the Dion.
I think BYU, this is a big game for BYU. You look at their schedule after UCF, it's not easy. They still got to play at Utah, which is a big rivalry game, etc. Iowa State finishes the regular season with Kansas State. A part of me wonders if maybe the winner of that game gets to the Big 12 title game. And then does BYU hang on here, or do they slip a little bit and open the door for a Colorado, perhaps? Who would have thunk it? Dion, Big 12 title game? You know Brett Yormark would sign off on that right now.
Would love it. They're on the prime game every week. Every network snapping it up because it means 4 million plus.
Were you sold on Iowa State in person there? Because I'm not. You look at Iowa State's schedule, it's a lot tougher in the second half of the year. I wonder if that's a team that's going to fade here. I know Matt Campbell's a good coach. I wasn't overly impressed. Were you?
I like Matt Campbell. UCF probably should have gotten out of there with a victory, and it would have dented the aura around Iowa State. I think there's some stumbles down the stretch. I'm not sure they make it to the championship game, but in Iowa State world, they're off to a tremendous start and have the makings of a very good season.
I'll tell you who's not going to make it. Your fraudulent Red Raiders who got smoked by Baylor. They're a fraud. I think the Big 12 title game is right now BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, Colorado. I think those are your top four. I think Kansas State's the best team in the Big 12, except they got destroyed by this BYU team in Provo. BYU has an incredible home field, though. Does that carry on the road? We'll find out this Saturday in Orlando when we see the Cougars up close. Hey, you know who early in August thought this would be a gimme for UCF? One Trace.
This guy.
Yeah, Trace, this is it. You're on deck here with your draft here. BYU, how you feeling?
I swung and missed with Cincinnati. I've got BYU. Remember that invincible home record, right, has taken a dent. Then I got the win at Arizona State. You already with 2 wins. Oh, I need this one bad, just like UCF does, Elo. Speaking of wins, we talked a little bit about some light at the end of the tunnel, Elo. What do you think here? Best chance at wins? Maybe BYU is not it, but West Virginia, Arizona, Utah. What's your best chance for a victory? As fans have feared 3-9.
Nah, I don't think they're 3-9. I think Arizona, which is of course it's a space game. We don't lose when we wear the space jerseys, Trace. I don't know.
As some have said, just wear those uniforms every week. Then, if everybody's going to rally around.
Be careful what you say; it might happen. But look, Arizona's had a lot of issues. Clearly, there's been a drop-off from Jed Fish to the Brennan guy at coach. What's his name again?
Brett.
Got it. They look terrible. They got whipped by Colorado. Their offense is not a good. So I think that's the number. If I had to rank it, I think that's a winnable game. I actually think Utah's the winnable game, Trace. The irony is, who would have thought in August we would say the team from the state of Utah that's ranked, that's the tougher game, is the one team from Provo, not Salt Lake. Cam Rising's out for the year. Zach Wilson's brother's not very good at Utah. They can't score. They just got rid of their offensive coordinator. I think UCF can beat Utah at home, beat Arizona. Then you only need one more game for a bowl eligibility.
Only one.
Only one. Only one. Good luck on your draft pick there, Trace. Good luck. Of course, we have prop bets. One of the greatest prop bets. Cost advisor, salute to you, sir. Tight ends. This is tight, Trace. Randy Pittman.
It is tight. 2 more on a run here, on a pace for 24. The over-under was 24.5. You got to be tight.
All right, we got two prop bets for you this week. Okay, one UCF.
Don't forget last week, Kobe.
Congrats to you. Kobe Hudson lost to the UCF. The rest of the field, UCF receivers 5-3.
Very close, 5-3.
Yeah, that's
8 completions.
what a great prop bet that. All right, 2 prop bets. First for the UCF BYU game, Trace. Jakari Brown. Will he have more rushing yards or passing yards?
Passing yards. They're going to pivot that offense. They're not going to have him throw deep. He'll hit more short and intermediate passes. More passing yards.
I'm going to say he runs the ball more. And then a bonus pick. The NBA season's underway, everybody. UCF's very own Taylor Hendricks starting his 2nd year with the Jazz. Some reports that he might be starting the season. Trace, over under 9.5 points for Taylor Hendricks this year in his 2nd year in the NBA.
Under 7.5.
I'm going over because I drafted him during this show in the 16th round of the fantasy basketball draft. Let's go, Taylor Hendricks. So if he does well, credit to Adam, and if he doesn't go well, it's your fault, Trace.
All right, we'll be real quick with Olympic sports. Women's soccer struggled. Volleyball struggles. Men's soccer in the Sun Belt, they may have a chance at postseason.
Big match Wednesday night, depending on when you're listening to this, against Kentucky and then Georgia Southern. If they can win those games and have a good conference tournament, they can sneak into the NCAAs. Otherwise, they're going to have to win the conference tournament to make the NCAAs. Women's soccer season could come to an end if they lose to Cincinnati on Friday. They must win Friday night to make the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. Volleyball, unfortunately, playing for 2025. I think that's done, unfortunately, in the fall report. But hey, fall ball, baseball, softball underway. So there is positive news there, Trace.
There is positivity. All right, time to bring back in Adam. Give us a little knowledge.
All right, gents, I got a page full of notes here. Off the top, you talked about the Ole Miss game. That's 1997 when UCF played Ole Miss, lost 24-23. Dante with the quarterback draw, fumbled the ball at the goal line. UCF loses that game. Interesting conversation about RJ Harvey. Here's some updated stats. He's now 4th all-time in rushing yards for UCF at 3,105. He'll easily break Willie English, who's 3rd at 3,131. Probably breaks Alex Haynes, who's 3,359. Probably not catching Kevin Smith, so he probably will finish 2nd all-time in rushing yards. Also 4th all-time in rushing TDs with 32. Latavius Murray is 3rd with 37, so maybe a chance there. Fun fact about receivers, though, by the way, RJ is also our 2nd most leading receiver yards this year. So it is Kobe Hudson, and number 2 is RJ Harvey. According to the Weather Channel, on Saturday, Elo, in the greater Orlando, UCF Oviedo area, 11% chance of rain. So plan accordingly. You guys talked a lot about basketball. So did we on the new show Suns Today. Check that out now on YouTube podcast feed. Andrew Trylko with a great recap of all things UCF basketball related. You asked about basketball and how they're going to do. According to somebody called WarrenNolan.com, UCF is 46th in the country in strength of schedule. So potentially a really tough match this year for UCF. You talked about where are the wins. I can't believe this, but ESPN.com's predictor has UCF favored to win 4 of the next 5 games. The only game they're not is the Arizona State game. Do with that what you will. Iowa State, fun fact, has never had more than 9 wins. They've never had a 10-win season. And in an update to a previous story, Zach Wilson's brother is still named Isaac Wilson.
Thank you, Adam. One more thing before we go. Happy 30th birthday to our very own Nitro. Made his debut on October 21st, 1994. Happy birthday, Nitro. Look for new episodes midweek every week on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Drops later wherever you get your audio content. For Adam Eaton, Eric Lopez, I'm Trey Trylko. Thanks so much for watching this week's Around the Kingdom.